I find it funny just how much my ambition has grown on presumption with this piece in a matter of minutes, because approaching FEUERSCHWANZ again always puts me in a state of like, I'm going to like what I'm about to hear, I'm sure. Right at this point, we've entertained 6 of their songs together. If you're not familiar, maybe FEUERSCHWANZ is a new name to you, German folk metal. And I figured I'd become quite the fan of theirs. But this piece I've been looking to with some anticipation, and I'm pretty sure that many of you have been highly anticipating my thoughts on it. I know this isn't the only piece, for sure. I'm imagining more attention to be fixated on an upcoming tune of theirs that will appear on this channel being, and it is one of their later releases, at least in terms of the selection of tracks I've picked going in order of album. That song being Warriors of the World United. That one I know has substantial recognition on part of viewership, at least on the video. And the song has a good collection of collaborative artists that are pretty popular in other circles that in some cases I'm excited to engage with on a first basis. But Melissa Bonny is a pretty attractable name, especially on talent. Many of you, I'm sure, are very well aware of how much I've become a fan of hers over the last couple of months. In fact, starting in December when I first started consulting, actually earlier on, when I first consulted her with the Mortimia collaboration and then broadened out to some of her other endeavors with, in the time since, Ad Infinitum, The Dark Side of the Moon, and other collaborative works, including with War Kings and Hero. And this is the one that I've been looking forward to in my FEUERSCHWANZ journey. You know, I've said before, once you embark on the FEUERSCHWANZ road, it's like D'Artagnan. You don't want to leave. And with D'Artagnan, again, it was the same in sentiment. That's what kind of brought me in, not just on a familiarity and connection point. D'Artagnan, if you're not familiar, is German folk rock. I also highly recommend them. And with FEUERSCHWANZ, they were probably the most dominant name in regard to recommendations on this channel's history in terms of music. I continually, in that time since, saw FEUERSCHWANZ. I'm like, okay, you know, at this point, I need to start going down that road, and I'm happy to do so, because I've enjoyed what I've heard thus far. 6 tracks in, off of a good selection of pieces so far, broadening out, of course, in more recent times, but starting with Das Aufdegeball. This is the piece, I think, one of 2, that's been the most highly requested. And I certainly have ambitions, like I said, the Melissa Bonny credit. But this piece, upon engaging with it as and I understand this is a mainstay with FEUERSCHWANZ, and we're getting some of the other pieces as well that fit this mold, including Warriors of the World United. I believe that's the same in this element. But it's a cover based on Ding. That's the name of the track, of course, from SEEED originally. That's the name of the group. And from my brief amount of research, because I've never entertained them before, let alone heard of them outside of this credit, they are, I'm still working my way into European music history, if you can't tell. I appreciate the opportunity to learn. SEEED is from my understanding, German hip-hop group, or like reggae as well in style. Humoring Ding as an individual listen. Again, I've heard a couple varieties of styles now within the rock landscape in German music, but I was really impressed with the upbeat. I'm not really a big hip-hop guy, but I like the personality of Ding quite a bit. And hearing some, German overlaid was really interesting. I thought it was such a cool integration that when I think of like American hip-hop, it just doesn't have the appeal as much anymore to me, for the most part, with some exception. Maybe in part other artists I've spotlighted on this channel that do qualify in that, and there are some exceptions. But normally I don't tend to look at like the mainstream pop, hip-hop type pattern of music what's so routinely offered in the Hollywood avenue. I always have the more alternative, and my first love is, though I keep an open door generally, my first love in the music world, which is my favorite of the artistic styles, as many of you know, and I love bringing it in a more prominence on this channel, aside from the other artistic forms that have been more foundational in the presence here, in the evolution of this channel, in fact. Metal's more my forte. But I'm really curious to engage with this piece, again, having humored the original track, to get a good baseline of information going in. I would encourage you to do so as well. Perhaps maybe you want to pause this video, in fact, and listen to that track on your own and then hop back in to hear FEUERSCHWANZ translation. I'm very curious. I'm imagining this is going to go down maybe more of like maybe they'll take a hip-hop direction, I don't know, with more of like a metal background? Or maybe a faithful translation with the vocal prowess of Melissa Bonny, and the members of FEUERSCHWANZ, to be fair, as well. I don't know. I'm just excited to hear it. So let's consult Ding together. Maybe for you, this is going to be your first time with FEUERSCHWANZ. I think you're going to like them a lot, and you're going to want to consult the rest of their library, and perhaps take this remainder of the journey with me that we'll be taking in terms of perusing through a selection of their works on this channel, and it's a grand selection. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Ding with the video alongside the song we can humor together for the first time, and if you're not familiar with how I format my coverage on this channel on a normal basis, maybe my work's new introduction to you, I try and accommodate listener taste to the best extent that I can. And so maybe you want to read along with the narrative of the piece, whether it be in the German form, original German form, or the English translation. In this case, with FEUERSCHWANZ, and a couple of groups as well in the past, I provide both. I will give you both a rough estimated English translation and the original German lyrics in the video feed, and they'll proceed along with the song as you navigate your way through it. So if you'd like to read along, that's available to you as a resource. If not, just sit back and I'm sure enjoy this piece. I mean, again, I'm really curious to hear which direction this takes in part of the cover. And there's a variety of ways artists can go in terms of structuring in the cover environment. Is this going to take on a more aggressive approach? Is it going to be faithful in tone? What's going to happen? I mean, imagine the video's going to be kind of campy because it might mesh with that style. That's kind of the comedic route that FEUERSCHWANZ takes. We'll see. I don't know. But I'm curious to engage with it. I'm sure many of you are excited to whether you're first engaging it with me or maybe you're a longtime FEUERSCHWANZ fan and you're highly anticipating my thoughts on this piece. I'm sure we're going to have a fun time together. Again, I love the fellowship that music can offer, and FEUERSCHWANZ, that's a vital part of the atmosphere as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't feel the same without, like it does in many European talents, humoring journeys of others. And with FEUERSCHWANZ, it's been an absolute delight. Let's see how Ding fares. I'm imagining it will be just as great. I mean, Melissa Bonny's here. What more could you expect in terms of quality? And to be fair, FEUERSCHWANZ, I mean, they've certainly delivered. Okay, it's going down the more metal route.
Heute bin ich ziemlich gut drauf, ziemlich schick ansetzen, Hut auf, die Rolex tickt man, seh gut aus.
Like a punk metal hip hop tune.
Wieder mein Solo ausreden, den
I like it. Gelling well. I love that personality. It's very fun on delivery. The harder riff pattern, again, it's a great mix.
Mit einmal gefällt mir das Lied so, tanz sogar zum Song von Placebo. Bin blau und die Dame Dito. Ich versteck meine
That sounded great. I love having the mix of vocalists too.
Wir sind blau, wir sind spitz, zu Hause sitzt die Frau mit Kids, im Augenblick Big Ham.
So far we got the group main focus. I'm assuming Melissa Bonny is going to approach it at some point. I mean, she's appeared, certainly. I'd imagine they're not just going to limit it to be like, hey, here's Melissa in appearance. She's actually going to have something to do in a second, I would think.
Ich bin besoffen, hier ist die Armen kurz darauf. Legt mein Kopf neben der Toilette, hätte nie gewettet, dass Kotzen meine Ehe rettet. Wow, ist das Ding, ich versteck meine Ring.
Love that. Alright, maybe here we go, let's see. I love that personality. Again, that swing of him is just excellent. Great mix. I think I was curious. Is it going to go on the rougher side, or is it going to be a lighter-hearted inflection? I love Melissa. Man. Isn't she wonderful for those of you that's a first introduction? In terms of her talent level? Wonderful personality and uniqueness, blended with a faithfulness to the original piece. I mean, that's a great mix. like I said, I was very curious to hear where the path would go in terms of Feuerschwang's Ding, and it's, in my opinion, extremely faithful to the original work. In tone, of course, in lyrical construction, I mean, it's just so much fun to entertain. That rhythm is excellent, especially on pacing. Like I said, the video has a campy energy that is reflective of, it's slightly campy. It's still got like a general storyline, but it's in good jest. It's fun, right? That's very much Feuerschwang's thing. It's extremely enjoyable on presentation. But the personality of the song, again, like I said, I was anticipating to see which direction this would go. Would it be more central towards the original vision of the hip-hop roots? Or I guess you could call it more that punk rhythm, at least in spirit, to give it a connection point to Feuerschwang's here, because this definitely takes on more of a metal artifice with that grounding. Emboldened German influence, of course, is always a part of the instrument use. Great variety. Great rhythm. Love the swinging nature of it. It's a fantastic listen. Deeply enthralling. And Melissa, as always, like I said, for those of you that she is a first introduction to, at least in the capacity of this song, hearing her in other endeavors, of course, gives me an image of familiarity in other respects, right? So I knew going in the vocal prowess of her in other appearances, those being, as I said, a list of a number of recommendations I provided. So I'm very well versed on the fact that her vocal prowess hits different ranges. This, I felt, hits every high point in anticipation of what I've heard from her. It's a great mix, again, especially for those of you this is the first introduction to her work, and I would highly encourage you to consult those other connection points with her. If you want the more ballad, softer, sweeter side to Melissa's personality, she's got that, right? That's how it started, at least in the introduction in the verse, and then instantly swings into the guttural scream, inflections all over the place, deeper ranges. I love it. It's exquisite, it's fun, and it's a wonderful compliment to the atmosphere of Ding, taken into a metal form. As I said, covers are curious, especially on first inclinations, because sometimes you can't necessarily gauge where the artist might go. They might keep it very faithful in lyrical vision, in structuring, in key choice. There's different traits, again, like I said, in terms of the cover aesthetics that artists oftentimes employ. There isn't much change in regards to the lyrics, but oftentimes what I see is a great range of diversity in thought and where to take certain tracks in their evolution on a more unique path. This is very faithful in tone, but it has a metal atmosphere. It's in key choice, I believe, for the most part, from what I remember. I think it was. Forgive me if I'm getting that wrong, but it's close and yet deeply its own thing. And I love the original vision of Feuerschwang's here. It adds such a unique layer. And again, large part in credit to not just the band. Again, the band produced a wonderful work. Love to listen through and through. It's an exquisite piece. It's an immediate re-listen for me. Highly anticipated with good reason. But with Melissa, again, her vocals just always captivate me. They have every time I've consulted them in the past. And as I've said, I've got a backlog in my mind of a limited selection, though I'm hoping to broaden it out again with talents that many of you, I'm sure, have provided that fit along these lines. I keep a specific regard, because I love it so much, when I hear leading female vocalists in the metal scene with scream capabilities. And Melissa Bonny has been just exquisite on delivery as always. And here, I love the variety in her voice. It's a good mix. As I said, if this is the first introduction to her, this piece encapsulates all her capabilities on the vocal side in a condensed performance, yes, but wonderfully demonstrated. So if you do take that path, segueing down other destination points, whether Melissa's popped up or where she's headlining other artistic endeavors, this is very much trademark her. And blended with Ding, she's a wonderful fit. I love this piece. It's probably one of my favorites from Feuerschwang's thus far. And we've consulted now, at this point, 7 in total. So we've taken a good long journey, and that's, of course, as I said, evolving with time with more of their pieces. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down below, and as well as your angle, right? Longtime Feuerschwang's fan, newcomer. I'd love to hear perhaps how you approach this piece and what you thought of Ding. And if you've humored the original Ding from SEEED, what are your thoughts on the translation? I'd love to hear about it again if you wish to provide feedback on that. I think it's exquisite. Again, one of my favorites thus far. I know covers are their thing, and we'll be getting to many of them in the future. This is sort of the first one, at least from my memory, that Because I think all the other ones are original pieces from them that I've consulted, all of the other 6. This is the first cover. And if they handled this one exquisitely, I'm excited to see what they have to offer in the future. Because Ding was great. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.